1997 year in review continues with me, Daniel Rogg 08, and it's time. It's Vader time. It's 1997 Survivor Series. Now, I know what you're thinking. This is it. He has to talk about the Survivor Series. He has to talk about Montreal Screwjob, right? I mean, what is there else to talk about when it comes to Survivor Series 1997? What is there else to talk about? You know, so but guess what? You're going to have to wait till the very end because there is a lot to talk about for Survivor Series. There is a lot to talk about. So let's get right into it. We have many Survivor Series matches to talk about here. We have the first traditional Survivor Series of the night. We have the Outlaws and the Godwins defeating the New Blackjacks and the Headbangers. Your sole survivors were Road Dogg and Billy Gunn. This was a crap match. 3 out of 10. Billy Gunn gets a leg drop over the back of the Headbanger Thrasher, I think it was. But he botches the hell out of it. Here's Mosh's head. Here's Mosh's head. And here is Billy Gunn's leg. You see my left hand? You see my left hand? This is his leg. That's Mosh's head. Missed by that much. Goodness gracious. 3 out of 10. Next up, we have the Truth Commission. This new faction, as if they don't have enough factions already, defeating the Disciples of Apocalypse. We have Kurgan and we have Bull Buchanan. We have other fuckers. And they're all led by this cult leader in Jackal. Jackal? It's a Jackal. Jackal? Jackal. If it wasn't Jackal the first time, what the hell would it be the next 10,000 times? So we have Cyrus the Virus here. And this was shit. It's just a Kurgan showcase. 1 out of 10. Next up, Team Canada, even though nobody is from Canada except Philip Lafong. They defeat Team USA. And so we got Team Canada here. It's British Bulldog, Jim Neidhart, Philip Lafong, and Doug Furnace. And they defeat Team USA, Vader, Goldust, Steve Blackman, and Mark Merrow. This is the debut match for Steve Blackman, who would jump the barricade as a fan and get on the action. He would try to come to the aid of Vader, then get his ass whipped. But Vader would bail him out of jail. So, you have all these prop people coming in, all these stage guys coming in, and they jump the barricade. I always wondered, what if an actual real fan jumped the barricade along at the same time as this guy? Then what the fuck happens? So say Steve Blackman jumps the barricade. What if a fan jumps the barricade right at the same time? What do? Do they tackle the fan but not Steve Blackman? Do they tackle both and just forget about the angle altogether? Would they improvise? What would happen in that situation? I don't think that has ever happened. But anyways, so you have Steve Blackman. You have Vader. He is basically the load. He is just pulling the load because you have Goldust. He separates from Marlena and his daughter. And he has this big black face with gold printed FU on his face, fully unchained, alive again on his back. And then on his cast, it said freedom. I think it said freedom on it. So, anyways, Goldust, he's just standing there. He's not into it. He doesn't get in this match at all until the end where Vader just he just slaps him across the face, drags him into the match. He just throws him into the ring, and then Goldust flips him off and walks out. Vader then gets his ass kicked, and British Bulldog is your sole survivor in this match. This match was pretty good. But yeah, Phil Lafong and Doug Furnace, they can get the fuck out. Phil Lafong and Doug Furnace, they sucked. They were botching moves like fucking crazy. Vader whipped Lafong's ass. 6.5 out of 10. Next up, we have Kane defeating Mankind. This is the in-ring debut of Kane. So not only do you have the in-ring debut of The Undertaker, The Rock, and Kurt Angle, and The Shield, so on and so forth, but you can throw Kane on the list. Even though he made his debut the month prior, this is his first match. And in the early stages of Kane's career, he had this very this very dim red light in his match. So give me the red light, because I'm ready to go. Oh, oh, and Kane is gonna get his revenge. He's gonna tombstone the Undertaker. So give me the red light, because I'm ready to go. Oh, oh. This is a fairly decent match. Kane choke slams Mankind. He basically just throws him off the apron into a table. Good stuff there. And Kane and his red light of darkness gets the victory in his very first match. Next up, a 6 out of 10, by the way. Next up, we have another Survivor Series match. We have the Legion of Doom, Ahmed Johnson and Ken Shamrock defeating the Nation of Domination. Your sole survivor was Ken Shamrock, and this was a fairly good match as well. A 6 out of 10. Very good, especially in the final two when it came down between Shamrock and The Rock. Ken Shamrock makes The Rock tap out, and this is a very, very good match here. Road Warrior Hawk gets eliminated very quickly, like within 2 minutes he gets eliminated. Not sure why. They are the tag team champions, and it's kind of weird how the Road Warrior Hawk gets eliminated so quickly and he's the tag team champion. Kind of fucking weird. Ken Shamrock gets the victory, and it's a nice showcase for him because then he would go on to the next pay-per-view to have his title match against Shawn Michaels. 6 out of 10. Next up, Stone Cold Steve Austin defeats Owen Hart in basically 3 minutes to recapture his Intercontinental title. This match was bad. However, it didn't need to be good. This could have been as great. They could have went out there and have a fucking 10 out of 10 match and have a great match like they did at SummerSlam. But this is much more of a storyline driven match. Instead of having, a fucking great match, technical match, let's just have Owen Hart being a dick ass, and let's have Steve Austin beat the fuck out of him. Stunner, 1, 2, 3, it's over in 3 minutes. So Steve Austin gets the stunner in like 3 or 4 minutes. He wins the Intercontinental title. I give it a 3 out of 10, but Stone Cold Steve Austin's fucking awesome. And then we get to the main event, and nobody fucking talks about the match. But the match leading up till the finish is actually very good. Shawn Michaels defeats Bret Hart for the World Wrestling Federation title in one of the most controversial matches of all time. I give it a 7 out of 10. Now let's talk about the finish here. Now, I know what you're thinking. All right, he's gonna talk about it, and this review is gonna go on for an hour. Well, as much as I would love to sit here and talk to you about Montreal Screwjob, I'm not gonna really do so. I'm not gonna sit here and talk about it for 60 fucking minutes, because honestly, I don't think it's that controversial. I want to explain why. If you really look at the grand scheme of things, all this is just you have a 32-year-old pompous, drugged up piece of shit, showboating, degenerate asshole in Shawn Michaels, who is not putting Bret Hart over because he's an asshole. And then you have a 40-year-old egotistical jerk ass who wants to have his dignity and doesn't want to lose because he wants to have his dignity, and he doesn't want to put Shawn over because if he puts Shawn over in Montreal, it's like taking a gun to his head and committing suicide because it's still real to him, damn it. He's 40 years old, and he's still, I want my dignity. I just want my dignity. This kind of thing happens a lot in wrestling. Believe me. If a guy is out there and he doesn't want to do the job, he doesn't want to drop the title, so be it. Guess what? The promoter is going to fuck him. The promoter is going to fuck him over, and he is going to fuck him good. Okay? That's just the way it is. That's the way it is. Believe that. Okay? Now, there's a lot of misconceptions here. 1, Bret Hart didn't want to lose in Canada. That's false. He wanted just to have his dignity. He wanted to leave Montreal at Survivor Series with his head held high. He was willing to drop the title to Shawn Michaels in Ottawa. 2, Bret Hart wanted to keep the title. That's also false. Bret Hart was willing to give it up to anybody and anyone at any point in time. It could have been to the Brooklyn Brawler, for God's sakes. It didn't matter. Hell, you could have had Thrasher rebrand him as some guy named Baba Booey the Third and have this new gimmick and beat him for the title. He would have been gladly to do so. Third, Vince McMahon was worried that Bret Hart would go on the very next night on Nitro with the WWF title and drop it in the trash can. The problem with that is, even if they wanted to do so, Eric Bischoff wouldn't be able to do so. Because, one, they're getting sued over Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. Still, that lawsuit is still going on here. They're still getting sued over Medusa throwing the title in the trash. And third, Bret Hart cannot legally show up on Nitro because he still has to show up. He is not allowed to do anything until December 1st. They have another month to figure out what to do with Bret Hart. What Vince McMahon was worried was about Eric Bischoff coming on Nitro and saying, we have signed away the WWF champion Bret Hart. He is now a part of our roster. Just for Eric Bischoff to say that, and that alone would make Vince McMahon look like a fucking retard. Okay? And fifth, a lot of people think it's storyline. Why would you think it's a storyline? In order for that to be a storyline, everything would have to be put in place. They would have to bet everything on Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, mind you, yes, it's easy to see that Stone Cold Steve Austin is going to be this big-ass babyface. But mind you, Stone Cold Steve Austin just got dropped on his head and was lucky he didn't get paralyzed 3 months prior at SummerSlam. I don't think they had all their money on this Stone Cold Steve Austin horse, okay? Because, hell, they had to have known that he had terrible neck problems, okay? He got dropped on his head. I don't think all their money is on Stone Cold Steve Austin. Vince McMahon, there's no way in hell he thought that, oh yeah, I'm going to be this big boss man. I'm going to be over. And everyone's going to hate me. There's no way he would have predicted that. And thirdly, how the hell does it benefit Bret Hart? How the hell does it benefit WWF? If you think about it this way, all Eric Bischoff has to do is say, Bret Hart is with us. He is our new hero. All they have to do is make Bret Hart this fucking hero, and they could kill WWF on the spot. Okay? That's all they have to do. Sure, Vince would say they will never know what to do with you. But all Eric Bischoff would have to do was play Bret Hart like some sort of hero, and that would be more than enough to kill WWF off. Okay? And another thing, they didn't film the punch. They didn't film Bret Hart knocking out Vince McMahon. Well, just because they didn't film it, that doesn't mean it didn't happen. Chris Jericho and Brock Lesnar had this confrontation, punch me or kiss me or some bullshit like that. That wasn't filmed. So maybe it didn't happen. Maybe Chris Jericho is in on it. Maybe Chris Jericho and Brock Lesnar and Randy Orton are all in on it. Anyways, it's a load of bullshit. However, I will give it an extra 5 points because it is controversial after all, or it is very historic. But anyways, in my opinion, it's just a 32-year-old pompous piece of shit scumbag. He's a degenerate back then, and he wouldn't put over Bret Hart. And then you have this egotistical maniac who wants his dignity and won't put over Shawn Michaels, who is leaving WCW for more money. Okay, so in my opinion, fuck them both. Okay, so there's Survivor Series for you, and I will actually talk about the Montreal Screwjob in a different video, in a different light. My video will be, what if the Montreal Screwjob never happened? Stay tuned for that video as well as my tribute to wrestlers who've died young. And also stay tuned for my 1997 as a year in review will continue. My final score, a 5.3 out of 10. Catch you next time. November to Remember coming up.